Hello my dear friends and welcome to my channel. Don't forget to make yourself a cup of hot tea or coffee if you want, because today we have very interesting stories, and one of them is a story about a woman who wanted the car so bad that she tried to steal OP's car, and karma got her. Please subscribe if you haven't and I hope you'll enjoy it. Hello. I'm new here and I have a story coming straight from my mother. I asked her if I could tell it, so please be free to share anywhere else. However, for privacy reasons, I'll use code names. Context. This takes place when I was 3 years old, so all of the information being told is coming from my mother, as a baby like me back then couldn't remember other people's crap. Here's the cast. Mama. My mother. Me. Fishy. Woof. The woman who thought I was too pretty to have autism. Onto the story. When I was around 2, my parents found out I had autism and ADHD when I went to a doctor's visit. Like the loving parents they were, they still loved me for the beautiful mess I was. However, the 2000s weren't exactly the best for someone having a mental disability. Ableists were running amok, as I put it, and Karens were the most frequent as ever. Mama was walking with me in a stroller at a park near my old house, which was a townhouse. I was munching down on some goldfish crackers, this will be important later, when a woman approached my mother. Aw, what a cute little tot. She looks up to my mother, what's her name? OP. She's my sweet little angel. She looks down at me, right, OP? Fishy. My mom cracks a smile as I giggle. But one way or another, something touched me. It could have been a bug, or the leather of the stroller, but my little mind began to panic. I started to stim, which back then was me tugging or grooming my hair. Woof notices this and gasps. What's going on with her? My mom pauses, and then notices what's going on. She bends down to my level and strokes my scalp, which calmed me down immediately. I then happily go back to eating my crackers. However, it seemed like Woof hadn't gotten her answer yet. Is she okay? Why was she tugging at her hair? Oh, she was just stimming. It happens when she feels uncomfortable or upset. Woof is confused about what my mother said, but then it clicks for her. Oh, I see, she has autism. I'm so sorry. My mom is confused as well, but more importantly, she's a tad ticked off. I only recently found out, about a year ago. She was diagnosed at local doctor's office by local doctor. Woof's face turns from pity to disbelief when my mom said that. Doesn't have any medical experience. I brought my daughter to him, telling him about her broken leg from falling off of her scooter, and he's just said it was a scrape. You shouldn't be taking anything from him. I've seen local doctor before, and he's the best doctor I've visited yet. He's the only one willing to see OP. Not many doctors around here are open to those with autism. But she doesn't have autism. My mother grips onto the stroller handles, wondering how this lady thinks she's the professional doctor around here. What was that? Your daughter does not have autism. She looks nothing like someone with autism. Plus, autistic people can't talk, yet she can. Local doctor probably told you she had autism just to mess with you. What are you implying? You don't get what I'm saying? I'm saying OP is too pretty to have autism. And there's another thing I can show you that she doesn't have autism. She kneels down to my level, what is 1 2? See, she can't have autism. Most autistic people are dumb. My mom is physically shaking at this point. However, before she could retaliate against all the crap Woof said, I spoke up. Mean shark. What? Mean shark, eat salt. I then proceed to throw goldfish crackers at this lady. The woman is either disgusted or annoyed, as she glares my mother in the eye as she tries to stop me from throwing my snack. How could you raise your child like that? What little girl throws food at adults? Because the dinosaurs died. What? But one lives. It eats salt. The woman is enraged by my answer, but she only stomps away. After all, she wouldn't want a bad reputation for punching a toddler, would she? Finally, my mom says something to her as she's stalking off. Never, and I mean never, assume someone is too pretty to have autism. End of story. What I don't get is that she seemed to acknowledge your autism at the start, but paddled back when she heard the local doctor diagnosed it. Strange folks really. A little backstory. Right now, I am a student in college pursuing a degree in child developmental psychotherapy. This semester, I got an internship at a local mental hospital so I could get experience and make it easier for me to get into grad school later on. The hospital I work at isn't just a facility for short-term patients, though. Some of the people who live there are permanent residents, ranging in age from 6 to 78, for various reasons, but I won't name specifics, out of respect for our residents' privacy. Basically, our goal is to do everything possible to help people recover from a mental illness and episode, and to provide a comfortable quality of life for our permanent residents. Needless to say, I deeply enjoyed my internship there. After the initial COVID outbreak, all internships within the hospital were suspended until further notice, so I stopped going for a good 3 weeks and tried to focus on school. Then one of my old bosses called me, in tears, filling me in on the current state of the hospital. There had been 3 positive cases of COVID, out of which 2 had passed away. 12 employees had quit or simply not come into work at all anymore, and to top it all off, there was a surge in people admitting themselves or others to the facility. A good chunk of people admitted were children, whose parents claimed they had some form of mental defect, although I suspect that they simply didn't know what to do with them. Once she had finished telling me about the situation, I immediately begged her to put me on the next work schedule. She agreed, and I've been working there ever since. Now, I don't want to come across as arrogant or pretending to be a martyr or anything like that. In all honesty, I think I am very underqualified compared to someone with actual medical experience and training. But I know is that these people at this hospital are dependent on us for care, support, love, and help. And I would be goddamned if I just sit by and watch bad things happen to these people. Simple as that. Sorry, long backstory. Onto the actual story. Ever since I started working at the hospital, my hours have been absolutely insane. There have been times where I have spent 48 to 50 hours straight at the building. I eat when I can, I sleep at 3-hour intervals, so I can get up in the middle of the night and check on our residents and patients. I do my virtual lectures and homework while organizing patient files. As awful, and maybe selfish, as this sounds, I do try to get on my Switch around midnight and take care of my Animal Crossing town. I'm weak. Basically, I'm lucky if I'm able to spend 30 hours at my home. That's where our entitled mother, EM, comes into the picture. Basically, she got arrested for medicine possession and subsequently lost custody of her son. Ever since, she has been absolutely desperate to get custody of him again. So, she has been scrambling between family members, trying to acquire things that make her look like a responsible parent. Baby gates, child safety locks, a new fridge, a new bed, countless new toys. I could go on and on. However, she went to her dad, my stepdad, for the most expensive thing she needed, a car. My stepdad refused because he was recently laid off because of the pandemic, and we can't really afford to be buying something so expensive and not even be able to use it. I've been giving a portion of my paychecks to my parents to help ease the burden. It's not much in the grand scheme of things, but it's enough. I don't think we're in trouble financially, but if worst came to worst, I would start giving 100% of my paycheck to them. After this conversation, EM drove to our house. Yes, drove, she had a car. And tried to plead a case with my stepdad again. I was sleeping in my room at this point, but my stepdad told me about the conversation, and it basically went like this. Dad, please, I wouldn't be asking if it wasn't important. You already have a car, though. Yeah, but it's not an awesome car. I need one with heated seats and built-in GPS. I don't think a judge would really care what kind of car you have, as long as it's a car. You're so selfish. I need this so I can get my son back, and you aren't even willing to help. How could you let my baby be taken away without helping me get him back? Don't you think your grandson deserves something nice after what he's been through? I can't afford it. I'm sorry, even if I wanted to, I can't do anything. Then let me have OP's car. OP needs that car to go to work, she's an essential worker. That's debatable. Making sure some psycho doesn't off themselves isn't really essential. I bet she doesn't even do anything anyways. She's probably just lying about the job so she can go get high or screw with some dude. Dad, I am your daughter, she is nothing but some half-breed, I'm mixed race, which? Just give me the car. The answer is no. Get out. Figure this crap out yourself. I'm not helping you. I thought the situation was over after that conversation. Nope. I don't know how she did it, but M got my work's address and went there while I was working. I was on hour 5 of an 18-hour shift when my boss took me aside and told me that my car had been vandalized and she had called the police. When I went to look outside, I saw EM handcuffed and arguing with a police officer in front of my car. Apparently, she had tried to steal my car by breaking the driver's side window and attempting to hotwire my car. When she couldn't hotwire my car, she got out, broke one of my taillights, then keyed a word that I morally refused to even type on my driver's side door. As pathetic as this sounds, I started sobbing as soon as I saw the damage. Maybe it was the lack of sleep catching up to me, maybe it was the shock, all I know is that I was gross crying in front of my boss, EM, and the police. EM was yelling things at me, but I couldn't tell you what they were if I tried. I just went into autopilot. I gave my statement to police, confirmed that I wanted to press charges, called a tow for my poor car, and took an Uber home. I honestly hope that was the end of her crap for at least a while, because I don't think I can handle any more of her everything right now. I fixed my car as much as I could on my budget. I had an extra taillight, so I put it in. I put a trash bag over the broken window, and I used duct tape to cover up a word she keyed into my door. Sure, it looks super ugly, but it still runs. I'm just thankful that she didn't cut anything important. The ironic thing is, my stepdad's family is talking about pooling money together so they can get me a new car. When my stepdad asked me if I had any preferences, I told him I wanted heated seats and a built-in GPS, oh sweet karma. Bail hasn't been set yet on EM, but all I know is that after this, she is not getting her son back. I'm happy for that though, that boy deserves so much more than she could give, and maybe now he will get it. Thanks for listening to my rant, you guys. Stay safe out there. Edit. Boss calls at 3 a.m., approving weekend PTO to catch up on college work. Happy noises. Sure, commit Grand Theft Auto, that will make the judge rule in your favor. She really thought a stolen car will gain her points in a custody battle for a child who doesn't really need a car, but love, food and a roof over his head. For the last months I have been working as an intern in the HR department of a middle-sized company, and while it has been mostly an uneventful job, there have been some really peculiar moments. Most people up north may be suffering from a white Christmas, but down here in the equator we are melting from the heat, and in a highly humid town like the one I live in, it feels like the Amazon rainforest. Well, maybe that's because we are actually in the border of the Amazon rainforest. This would make you think any building will have their air conditioning units working full-time on full power. No. Well, not if Mr. Jeremy Johnson, our protagonist, could prevent it. Every day, Jeremy was the first to get in the building, enter the office he shared with other 5 guys, and set the thermostat to a not-so-refreshing 25°C, 77°F. The device was on his workplace, so he basically had full control over it. When any of his coworkers complained about it still being really hot, he would set it to 20°C, 68°F, for about 10 minutes, and then return it to his loved 25. If they changed it themselves, he would set it back once they returned to their desks. As childish as this may sound, this game lasted for about a month till an HR representative, your sweet narrator here present, had to intervene because this was getting out of hands. Formal complaints were done, and the screaming matches were getting worse and worse, with people in other departments commenting on the issue. So, normal first step, I interview the 5 guys, and they describe the problem I just told you about. Cue to the funny part, my interview with Jeremy. I will try to recreate it the best I can, although I may be a little biased. Hey, Mr. Jeremy, I am, my name, from HR. How are you? Fine. So, let's cut to the chase, about the thermostat. What about it? Having said this, we need to find a solution. A solution for what? The only problem here is that this peladitos, little kids, is a safe idiom, but in here it was used rudely, can't handle a little bit of heat. A detail I forgot to include is that while Jeremy is in his early 40s, his coworkers are in between 24 and 30. Yeah, but that's the reason we have the air conditioning, sir, so that workers can be as comfortable as they can. It's expensive. Our energy budget is able to cover for it, that's nothing you should worry about. In case we needed to make cuts, we will tell you. Well, I can't handle the cold, I trigger my allergy. Maybe we can arrange a place to change so that you are not close to the air vent, and, I don't know, maybe you can bring a thin sweater so that you don't get too cold. I don't like sweaters. I am fine with the way I have the thermostat, why should I change it? Because you are not alone in your office, Mr. Jeremy. And we can't let this fight affect your work environment. I really don't get all this drama. I keep the same temperature at home, and none of my kids complain or are allowed to change it. It should be the same here. I think at this point my face just made the must what the hell expression imaginable because I could not believe the argument he had just said. Sorry. Mister, this is not your house, this is your workplace, and those are not your children, but your adult coworkers. Then they should act like it. Okay, that's all I needed to hear, we will tell you what measures would be taken, have a good afternoon. So, after that weird conversation I talked to my supervisor and in the end it was decided that Mr. Jeremy had two options. Change places in the office and leave the thermostat in the hands of the other guys, meaning he needed to deal with a cold. Moving to our backup office, basically an adapted supply closet normally used for extranumerary personnel we sometimes hired, also occasionally used as a file warehouse, and whose only ventilation was a small fan. No windows. Surprisingly enough, Mr. Jeremy chose the first option, and while he is constantly nagging about his cold feet, at least they are not fighting to death anymore. If it's a choice between way too hot or way too cold, cold wins. With cold, you can put on a sweater, but with heat you're just miserable. Well guys, that's it for today. If you end up enjoying this video please consider subscribing, and if you missed the last episode on the channel I'm gonna link it right here. The story is about a woman with her mom who nearly killed the residents of a group home in order to be with her son. Check this out if you haven't, and I'll see you in my next video.